The Last Clue is a production of Smith Media Team, LLC. Listener discretion advised, mostly because of me. This week would have marked the 52nd birthday of Amy Gellert, a case that I know is close to you.
It is.
And as of right now, 2025, still remains unsolved.
It does. It baffles me. There's so much detail in this case that I don't know that we can cover it all in one episode, but it has been covered on Cold Case. So that I know that episode is out there. So if you would like to watch the episode, please do.
What's not out there is the episode that CBS's 48 Hours did.
No, it is not. It is very difficult to find. I don't understand why. It was a whole thing. And this case is actually a very big deal. As Amy was murdered in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Now, I don't know if you know much about Cocoa Beach or Florida in general at all. I do. I happen to live there and know the Gellert family. So, obviously, again, this hits home, literally. But Cocoa Beach is a very small community, mostly known for surfing, Ron John Surf Shop, pro surfer Kelly Slater. And this was back in the day before Kelly Slater was, you know, several times over world championship surfer. He was just Kelly to us. Anyway, but Cocoa Beach, very small. Murders just don't happen there.
And even more confusing, not that the 48 Hours episode isn't available, but there's also conflicting information about which episode the Amy Gellert um, saga is talked about. There have been two different reports that we followed that it was season 28, episode 23, or episode 22, but also we have a listing for season 29, episode 50. So CBS is not making this very easy to find.
Which is going to make it even more difficult to solve. Because if you've taken it off the air, how is it going to get re-aired? Especially with anniversaries coming up. The anniversary of her murder is coming up on March 20th. It will be 31 years.
If you are Erin Moriarty or know Erin Moriarty, she was the 48 Hours host at the time
She was.
that this episode, and Lisa Freed was the producer. But jumping into the case, this is case number 94 0344440. This is out of Brevard County. The Brevard County Sheriff's Office is handling this case. They do have a cold case team. The last that we checked, Major Todd Goodyear and Lieutenant Marlon Buggs were the leads on this cold case. But there are some very interesting points about this case that I feel make it unique. So, do you mind telling the story as you remember
Ugh,
from the beginning?
that, we'd be here for a very long time
The the
to go
night
through.
of.
Um, I remember seeing it on the news. I personally was in Merritt Island with my best friend at the time, and the TV was on, and it came across that there was a murder in Cocoa Beach. I turned my head and I saw the TV, and up flashed the picture of Amy, and I dropped to my knees, and I was like, "How? What is happening?" The volume was down at the time, so um, it's all kind of a whirlwind. But I remember dropping to my knees and asking wherever we were to turn the TV up. and had gotten the news that Amy had been murdered. She had just turned 21 years old on February 22nd of 94.
But and now at the case, at the crime scene, this was a tad bit unique
Mhm.
because, as I understand it, the killer broke into her parents' house.
Yes, she was living at home with her mom and her stepdad.
And were they there at the time, or did he break in and wait on them?
No, they were there at the time. Bob and Bunny were there, and they might have, I believe they actually walked in on him and they saw the intruder dressed in black, and he proceeded to attack them, made them lay on the floor in a very certain position. We'll have to go into details at another time. But anyway, the suspect made them lay on the floor in a very specific position, as if he had some sort of potential military or police training, the way he had them lay, and seemed really nervous. There was nothing stolen at that time, and there was conversations. They Bob and Bunny had told him, here's our wallets, here's where our things are, please take these things, go, whatever. And they stated that he had seemed really nervous and waiting and wanted to know about anybody else in the household. And Amy was not home at the time, but he was startled by the headlights coming into the driveway where Amy was coming home from church, where she had been doing, if memory serves, like some work with the the orchestra, the chorus, some things like that, some musical work at the church. And he was startled by Amy coming home, the headlights in the driveway. And Bob ran out of the house to forewarn Amy that something was going on. They had been attacked. Bob was already bloodied. They had been stabbed. And the intruder turned his attention to Amy and attacked her as she was coming home. There were slash marks in the backpack that she had grabbed out of the car, where she had been using it to attempt to defend herself. And the murderer attacked her, stabbed her several times, and she ran for help. She ended up running across the highway into apartments at the time, where she collapsed and told someone to call 911, that she had been stabbed. She was trying to save herself, trying to save her family, and police arrived, and unfortunately, it was too late for Amy.
And just to make sure that I mentioned this, this was Bob and Bunny Lehton.
Yes.
Um, they were the mother and stepfather that were attacked. But now that you've mentioned the attack and especially the stabbing, one of the interesting things about this case that I've noted and has been noted on the true crime shows that you can find that are still on, the gun that was used in this attempted robbery slash murder,
Yeah, there was a holdup
it was
of
a
a
prop gun.
sorts.
It's a
Yeah,
prop gun. It
yeah,
was a prop gun
yes.
that had blanks that was used in movies and theater,
Hmm.
a Brixia gun.
Correct.
Now, the other thing, and I suggest our true crime sleuths go out there and take a look and dig. The knife that was used was a dagger
Hmm.
type knife that had a very, very, very distinctive gold chain marking where the blade meets the base of the knife. It's something that investigators have said is very unique.
Yes. Ornate, very ornate, an ornate hilt on it. I can I can still see the sketches in my mind. I've never seen anything like it. And of course, the first thought that came to their mind, since Cocoa Beach is such a small community, was the Cocoa Beach Theater.
And investigators have apparently looked into that, but one of the other things that they have dug into is when you mentioned earlier about the attack, that the parents stated that the person seemed to have had a military type background and also had a strong Maryland slash Pennsylvania area type accent.
Yeah, that northeastern area, New England, yes.
And Amy was no stranger to dating military law enforcement types. So it could be a jilted boyfriend. It could be someone who was a first date that didn't work out and the person didn't take it so well. But there is a line that shows that it could potentially be a military slash law enforcement person who should be looked into with this murder.
Yeah, obviously a lot of potential in this case and still a lot more details for us to share here on the last clue. As again, this is very close to home and I want to be able to share as much as possible. I would love to see some justice for Amy, for her entire family, her mom, her stepdad, her dad. This has gone on too long, and I would love to delve more into this one.
And we know we're wrapping up now, but we know that Amy was no saint. She did smoke weed. There were rumblings that she was potentially into
She had gone to rehab at one point, yes.
it had fallen back into drugs. So there is a little bit of a sordid past, but
Who
there
doesn't
are
have one of those at 21, to be honest with you?
there are also some suspects.
Yes.
So on episode 2, we will dive into the suspects and potentially bring a name out that hopefully Brevard County will look into again.
You know what? I can share about one of those suspects.
What's up?
I know him too.
This has been The Last Clue, a production of Smith Media Team LLC. You can find more information about The Last Clue at smithmediateam.com.